Welcome to everybody who is joining live, and hello if you are checking this out on YouTube later. We're going to be talking about crafting irresistible product pages for retail. I have a slideshow I'm going to share with you, but first, I'm just so glad that everybody is here because that tells me that we are looking forward during this somewhat terrifying year and trying to improve our businesses. I noticed during the pandemic, which felt similar in a different way, just the economy, I suppose, felt similar, that some business owners kind of froze or paused, and I feel like they had a harder time than the business owners that doubled down on what was working or pivoted, if you can still stand that word, to something new. So let me pop my slideshow up here and we can talk about how to keep our businesses strong um, with everything that's going on right now. Okay, so we're going to talk about your product pages today. And before I dive in, I'm going to just explain what it is that my team at Aeolidia does. We help merchants. We work on branding and logo design. We build Shopify websites. We do email marketing, and we also optimize and maintain existing sites. So Aeolidia has been in business for over 20 years, and we've worked on over 800 projects. We work primarily with creative brands. Just last year, we worked closely with over 60 different businesses of all sizes. So we have a good idea of what works online. I used to give a longer talk about how to optimize your whole entire site. So we would spend some time talking about the homepage. I used to kind of lose people when I mentioned that some of your visitors would never see your homepage. So a website isn't like a book that you read cover to cover. Not everybody shows up on your homepage and then makes it through the whole site in order. In fact, that rarely happens. So what we see in web stats and what I'm showing you here is um, your product page is often the first site that people or the first page on your site that people will see. So in this pie chart, the dark blue wedge that says product pages, that is the most common landing page we see across the sites that we build. And a landing page just means the first page somebody sees on your site. So you'll notice it's product pages, then collection pages in the lighter blue color, and then your home page in yellow, and then maybe your blog in green, and then there's other pages people might show up on first. And that might be because they found you on Google, or maybe you are linking directly to a product in your advertising and your social media or whatever. But apart from if they're going to show up on your product page first, they definitely are going to decide if they're buying or not on your product page. So we're just going to talk about everything you can do to make your product page work better, to keep people from bouncing off of it and just disappearing, and to increase sales on your site. So we're going to go over some numbers to know. Here are a few things we're going to talk about. This might be very familiar to you, or maybe some of it is a bit new, but I'm just going to explain what these are before I start talking about them so I don't lose anybody. So your conversion rate is the percentage of your visitors that are going to convert into customers. So if you have 100 visitors, for example, and 2 of them purchase something, that is a 2% conversion rate. The other number we like to look at is your average order value. So this is just generally how much people spend when they buy from you on your site. To find this out, it will either just be in your stats, or you can get it yourself by taking the total value of your orders and divide it by the number of orders that you got. So if you got 2 orders that totaled $100, that is a $50 average order value. Another number we like to look at, which is not always an easy to find or specific number, but something to have in your mind, is your customer lifetime value. So this is just how much a customer will spend during the relationship with you. This is something we think about a lot if we're paying for advertising, because if we're spending money to get somebody to buy from you just that one time, it might not feel worth it. But if they keep buying from you over and over, in a span of years, then it can make sense to pay money to get that customer to visit your site the first time. So I'm going to talk about some strategies that we can use on our product pages, and all the strategies that I mentioned today are designed to improve one or more of these metrics that you see here, and a variety of other metrics. So, telling your product story. The word storytelling can sound kind of fanciful, but it can be quite practical. So, storytelling is one of the things that my team is really good at doing for a business, but sometimes we'll be talking about that on a call and somebody, they won't exactly roll their eyes, but storytelling doesn't sound super important or like it's going to make you a lot of money. But explaining how your product works is a form of storytelling. There's a lot of ways you can kind of tell that story to help people want to buy your product. So I'm going to show some examples of how to do this well. And every example that you see while I am talking about this is going to be from a site that we designed. So something we worked on the strategy for. This is Hello Adorn. They sell jewelry. This is just a tiny slice of their product page for their tiny twist earring, which is their best-selling earring. And the reason that I'm showing this one is because on Shopify or really any e-commerce platform, you tend to think of yourself as having one product page design, but you actually can make special product pages for any products on your site that are important or maybe bestsellers or something like that. So this little tiny twist how-to, which explains how to wear the earrings and get them in your ear so one piercing can look like a double piercing. This is something they have only on that one product page for their tiny twists. So when we're thinking about storytelling and what you can do for your own unique site that maybe is not something you can just find in a theme, I like to think, how can we make our online shop feel like our in-store experience or like a trade show booth or a craft fair booth, like wherever you would set up in person to sell one-on-one with people, how can you make that happen online? And another storytelling thought is, how can we make our brands meaningful and irreplaceable to our customers? Here's an example. This is Sister Golden. So this is, again, just a screenshot of one part of one of their product pages. They're a wonderful mother sister or mother daughter team, and Vicky creates beautiful flower art. And so we want to explain more about the business, tell the story, show the process. So if you can see on this slideshow, there's two little arrows here under the process. So it starts with the gathering, and then it goes through all the steps she uses to build this artwork and photograph it. And it's something that can be a little confusing to their customers, but also something that's just fascinating and makes for a great story and makes for a product that people want to purchase. So if you just landed on a basic product page for this art, like something out of the Shopify theme store, maybe you wouldn't understand how special the artwork is, but when we can tell that story, we can get our point across here. So when I think about storytelling for brands, I like to think, what separates you from your closest competitor? What would make a customer choose you? And what's special about your product? And then how can we tell that story on your product page in a way that's really engaging and appealing to people? Here's just another example of a little slice of a home page. This is Paper Mundi. They do beautiful watercolor maps, and we wanted to put this behind the scenes process section on their product page. So if there's anything where you're designing or creating, people really love to hear about that, and it's fascinating. We like to just show that right when they're thinking about buying. So who's your shop for? How will those people know if your brand is for them? How do you create an emotional connection with a customer that will encourage loyalty to your brand? And then how do you communicate your values and your reasons for being in business in a way that will engage people? So we like to think about all that. We like to think about the big picture of your business and how we can communicate that all over your site, but for today on the product page. Okay, so that's the overview. We're sort of talking about storytelling, but we're also going to talk about some very practical functional features that are going to help more people buy from you. So I have 8 product page features that I'm going to zip through today. Um, I'm going to send you an email with a bunch more information. And if you're watching this later on YouTube and you would also like that information, my contact info will be at the end. You can just get in touch and ask me for it. So we're going to do just a cruise through these features so you can decide what might work for you and figure out what you want to look into in more detail. So first thing, we've got personalization and variance. So the better your user experience can be, the higher your conversion rate is going to get. Personalization and variance are kind of under the same category here because these are the options that you can offer your customers so they can get the exact product they want or customize it to themselves or a gift recipient. And on Shopify, those are called your variants. I'm going to show some examples. This is Duckadilly here. Leslie sells Liberty fabrics, and fabric yardage can be complicated, and showing all the different colors of a fabric can be complicated as well. So you'll see on the screenshot, we have a bunch of these little circles here. These are all the different colors of this pattern. And rather than just listing them in a drop down, like if you can imagine, I don't know, 30 different color options written as words in a drop-down menu. Not only is that overwhelming, but you're not necessarily going to be able to picture what those colors are. So whenever possible, we like to show the option as a visible thing, whether it be a photo of it or if it needs to be a word, we like to show it as a button rather than hiding it in a drop-down menu. So this one has got the fabric colors, and then down below there are 2 little buttons. You can choose if you would like your fabric cut in yards or in fat quarters, which is something that mostly only quilters know what that is, but if you're a quilter, you know what that is, and you know how hard it is to shop without having that. And then down below, you've got the quantity they're going to choose. So this is just a good example of showing everything clearly and making it easy to see what your choices are. Here is another example of variants. This is Whispering Willow. They sell some bath and body products, and you'll see here that you can choose a scent. And then rather than, these are just words, it's not a picture of the scent, but rather than having them hidden in some kind of drop-down menu, they are all showing as buttons here. So at a glance, you can see what the different scents are. So these are boxes, not a menu. And we're using something here that we call a faux variant. I think that's our made up term, but this is also called sibling products. So each of these different scents is a different SKU and a different product page. So I'm on lavender right now, but if I click lemongrass, it's going to seamlessly move me over to the lemongrass product page. And as a customer, I won't really realize I've moved to a different product, but this is just one way to rather than having your customer have to click back to the category and look for the lemongrass, they all can be listed here as if they're one product. This is an example of customization using your variants. This is a site called Ever Emblem, and what you can do here is you can design your own labels for if you make handmade products, like maybe you've made a quilt or knitted a blanket or something, you can make these little tags to sew into it. So this one is showing a live preview, so you'll kind of have an idea of what you'll be getting. So as you can see on the side here, I can choose if I want it flat or folded. I can choose if I want it uncut or pre-cut. And then the way I want to attach it, I can get a sew-on label, an iron-on for yarn, and an iron-on for cotton. And with all those choices there, I'm gonna scroll down and pick like what name I want to put there and what font I want it to be in and what the little image is going to be, and I'll see that in the preview there. So imagine how hard it would be to commit to purchasing this without seeing that preview, especially since you usually cannot return personalized items. So if you have some kind of item that people can personalize for themselves or a gift recipient, like maybe you've got monograms or something like that, it's really helpful for them to be able to see what they're going to get so they don't feel any doubt as they're about to make that purchase. Okay, so that was a quick little buzz through variants. I'm going to chat about upselling and cross-selling next. And don't worry, we'll do a recap at the end and I will send you more information about each of these features. But I just want to give you the overview of what there is so you can think about it if you would like to do it on your site. It doesn't always make sense for every site to do every one of the things I'm going to mention, but these are all the top things that we see help people make more sales or sell more to each customer. So upselling and cross-selling, that increases your average order value. So if somebody's purchasing anyway, you can get them to perhaps purchase a bit more, which makes it worth it with the shipping. And of course, it's easier to continue selling to one customer than to keep finding new customers, which is why we like this. A cross sell is complementary items that go with the first item. And an upsell is maybe a higher priced version or some kind of upgrade. So if you imagine you are selling a red hat, sometimes you'll put a bunch of other hats on the product page. Like you might also like this green hat or this blue hat or this yellow hat. But we don't usually like to do that because now instead of having somebody add another additional item to their cart, you're having them kind of choose which of the hats they want, and now they have to make a decision, and that can slow people down and stop them from buying. Instead, I'd love to see if you're selling a red hat, that the other products you show on that page are maybe the red mittens and the red scarf or something like that. And I'll show some examples of ways that you can upsell or cross-sell from your product page. This is Hello Adorn again with the jewelry. They're trying to get more people, or they're trying to get people to add more to the cart and also showing them products they may not have found on their own. So you'll see here under the add to bag button, we have a little box called complete the look, which is like a nice little bit of psychology here that means you should buy these items together. Like your look's not going to be complete unless you get these other things here. So you'll see we're looking at one necklace, but there's an ear cuff and a choker that might also be included. And from here, people can add these to the cart along with the necklace rather than switching out to another necklace. Here's another way to, this is kind of an upsell. So this is a small slice of the product page for this scrapbooking sticker and stamp kind of website, Honeybee Stamps. When you're purchasing the one product, which would be above on this screenshot, there's also this box called Frequently Bought Together, where you'll see there are 4 items that are suggested, and they're all pre-checked, and the price is added up, and there's a button to add all 4 of them to the cart along with what you are already buying. And if there's one here you don't want, you can uncheck it, but it's just an option to make it really easy for customers to add it all to the cart in one click. So this makes sense if you have things that go together or there's add-ons that work with the original product. Here's Whispering Willow again. You'll see underneath the product photo here, we're looking at their hand soap, but underneath it says also in our gift set. So it's showing me the lavender gift box, which also has this soap in it. So maybe you're already thinking of buying someone a gift and you're looking at the soap individually, and then you realize, oh, I could get this in the gift box as well, and that would be more fun. So rather than this customer buying just this one bottle, you've now introduced them to the gift set and they might go ahead and buy more. Often there's going to be a price break if you buy something in a set, so that's something that you can call out in the little description there if there is. Okay, now we're going to talk about trust, which increases your conversion rate, which means more people that show up on your site are likely to buy from you. I like to think if someone just found my site a few seconds ago on Google, how can they trust me with their purchase? So maybe we're used to bringing people over from Instagram where they already kind of know us, but sometimes you're going to have people on your site who have no idea who you are and why they should trust you. So I want to show just a couple quick examples of ways to build trust on your site. This is Thomas Lee Sheets. Down at the very bottom here, you'll see they've got a couple of icons. One of them is this third-party certification that they have about how their sheets are made. So do you have any kind of proof that your product is all that you say it is? Getting a third-party opinion can make all the difference because it's easy for you to tell me that your business and products are great. But if somebody else has certified it or given you a review or a feature somewhere, that's much more impressive. So an example of features at the very top of this page, which is just a clip from the product page for this business. They're showing some logos of places they've been featured that you've probably heard of. They've got Martha Stewart and the wire cutter. And then they have a big feature that they got with Martha Stewart's American Made. So you can see here that this is not just somebody making vinegar shrubs in her backyard and who knows if the quality is good or she's going to send you what she says she is. You've got like quite a bit of proof here that other people use this shop and trust it. So press and publicity are a great way to get people to see that people like them like your product. And this segues well into our next topic, which is a slightly simpler way to do this, product reviews. So rather than getting Martha Stewart or somebody famous to talk about how great you are, this is just getting your own customers to do that. So product reviews increase your conversion rate, and they're an important part of online shopping and an important way to encourage trust. We do a lot of user experience research and we look into what works in e-commerce and what doesn't. And we were looking at the study that said 95% of people in the study were looking for user reviews. So nearly all shoppers are looking for reviews on a website and they feel suspicious of products without reviews. When you're gathering your product reviews, it's important to use an app for the SEO benefits of these rich results. So these little clips here are screenshots we've taken of our client sites in Google, and you'll see the top one there has got the review stars and the rating, and it shows how quickly they deliver. Duckadilly, who we looked at before, has got little call outs for the different categories you might want to take a look at. And then down on Gather here, you'll see that they've got their location and hours and a lot of details about how their shop and products work. So those are called rich results. And there's a lot of different apps that can give you rich results or way to code your site. So those rich results will show in Google. But for our purposes, we are thinking about product reviews right now, and it's really great if people find one of your products on Google, they can see a 4 or 5-star rating there and feel confident to click over. If you don't have product reviews now, definitely ask your customers for them. You might want to offer them a reward if they write review for your product. And there are ways to get started. I know it feels overwhelming, especially if you have a lot of products, but in some cases you can share reviews across categories. So an example I like to use is if you sell greeting cards, I don't really need 100 reviews for every different card, like the birthday card and the thank you card and everything. You can usually share the reviews of all of your cards together across all the card products. So they'll have the same group of reviews there because the quality of your cards is going to be the same. So that's one way to get started. And then if you do start getting a lot of reviews, you can break that out and have it be on individual products. You can and should review your own reviews before they go live rather than auto-publishing, just to make sure you know what people are saying about your brand and it's something that you want to have on your site. And then I want to mention some apps that we recommend when you're doing product reviews. So Judge Me is a good app if you're just starting out. It's very full featured on its free plan, and the paid plan is pretty affordable as well. Larger brands tend to like Okendo as a reviews app. And then larger brands that have a heavy focus on social media might like Loox, Loox, for their product reviews. But most brands, especially if you're starting out, Judge Me is a great tool to use to gather your product reviews. This is an example of reviews that show what people made from these sewing patterns. So this is another form of trust. They're thinking like, oh, if these people could do it, I can do it. This is Twig and Tail, who sells clothing patterns. You'll notice that we have the review stars here with the description and the photo. So this is really compelling if you're trying to decide if you should do it. When you're putting reviews on your site, we want to see those stars near the price and the add to cart area, and then have that link down to the reviews widget lower on the page so people can read through your reviews and like if they're on the fence and trying to decide. Okay, that was reviews. Now we are going to jump into bundling as a possibility for your site. This is something that could increase your average order value. Bundling is offering multiple products together as a package. Often this is at a slight discount, and this not only increases average order value for you, but it makes purchasing easier for your customer. And we'll look at a couple examples again. Here's Sister Golden. They sell greeting cards, and if you sell greeting cards or any other low-priced item online, you know selling one greeting card is not that great of a sales day for you, but selling a bunch can make a lot more sense if you're shipping products out and all that kind of stuff. So here on their greeting card thing, they have, you'll see this little box here above the add to cart. It says stock up and save, buy 9 cards, get the 10th card free. So this plants the idea in their customer's mind, like, oh yeah, I do want to stock up on cards, so I'll have them when occasions come up. And then encourages them because they're going to get something free if they go ahead and do it. In Shopify, this is called a volume discount, and you can implement that using their automatic buy X get Y discount feature. There are also apps if you need some additional flexibility or some other slightly different feature. And then this one here is a mix and match discount. It doesn't have to be 10 of the same cards, it just has to be 10 cards, and you can mix and match across their whole collection of cards. And here's another example on the Sister Golden site where we're bundling. So in this example, we're looking at one of these art prints on their site, and a pop-up comes up and asks us to upgrade to a bundle. It says get your print along with 2 others and save. So this is the bestsellers print bundle, and the price for all of them together is written and crossed out, and then we have the sale price in a different color. So the button here says upgrade, or you can click no thanks. So this is convenient for the customer because they don't have to pick and choose. And often with artwork, people want to put together like maybe a gallery wall or something like that. So now you're showing them things that go well together or that people often buy together. So that saves them some time and decision making. And then this also gives them savings if they purchase as part of a set, which increases their total order amount. So they save, which is great for them, but they spend more, which is great for you. So that's a win-win. And this is when this pop-up is triggered, if you're adding the item to the cart as part of a set, it triggers this pop-up and you can choose to upgrade or not. If you do choose to upgrade, it swaps out the product that was in the cart with this bundle. So that's something that you can have somebody like my team built into your site. And then here's just another example of a way to bundle products. This is another craft brand. We just gave this talk at our favorite craft trade show and conference, so we have a lot of craft examples here, but this works across a variety of different sites. This has been Benzie Design, and they sell some kits to work on projects. So on this one, you'll see you're just adding the countdown calendar to your cart with the top buy button, but then it says, or build a complete kit. And then there's a whole set of checkboxes here with pricing next to it. You can check off everything you want, like the different colors of felt, and if there's any tools or anything that you might need. So again, this makes it easier for the customer to complete a project. It helps sell more while cutting down on customer search and confusion. And you know, the odds that somebody is going to click through your site and gather each of the colors of felt they want and everything, they're kind of low. People have a short attention span online. If you make it super easy for them like this, you'll find that you're selling quite a bit more. So this wasn't an app. This is something that we custom coded, especially for Benzie Design for the exact feature that they wanted. So that's bundles. Let's talk about subscriptions for a moment. So subscriptions, again, not every business is going to want to offer subscriptions, but some will be just perfect for it. This can increase your customer lifetime value, of course, because somebody sticks around to get their subscription, and it increases the average order value. Instead of them just buying one thing, they're subscribing and continuing to buy from you. So this is convenient both for you and for your customer. One example here is Little Apple Treats. You will see here that you can make a one-time purchase, or you can click the other button where you see the pink box and you can choose to subscribe and save 10%. So it's going to cost less, and you can choose how often you'd like to have that delivered. So customers can save money if they subscribe, and then they remain customers. You don't have to keep convincing them over email or on Instagram to come back and buy from you. They're just going to continue to receive this cider vinegar shrub because they subscribe to it. So this is called subscribe and save. It's something that can make a lot of sense for anything that's consumable or replenishable, something that you're going to run out of and want more of. It often makes sense to offer a subscribe and save option. Here's a different example of how to do a subscription. This is Needle Sharp, and this is a sewing kit subscription box. So this is, rather than a subscribe and save, we're looking at a curated shipment, which means every month or however often you decide to do this, you'll be putting together a special new kind of gift or project box for somebody, like um, a fruit of the month club kind of thing, or in this case, a sewing project of the month club. So subscription boxes are a great way to have monthly recurring revenue on your site and not need to always be looking for new customers. Keep in mind though, on a bigger purchase like this with a more of a commitment, you do need to use quite a bit of customer psychology. And this page, I'm just showing the top of it in the screenshot, but in reality, when you're on this site, you're scrolling down, you're learning more about what's in the box, you're reading customer reviews, there's an FAQ that explains what you're going to get and how it works. There's all these reassurances about how often it comes and if you can cancel and how that works. Customers are going to have a lot more objections if they are trying to subscribe to something and it's more of an ongoing cost. So you just want to make sure that you listen to your existing customers, you take any questions and get the answers on that page, and you make it look as valuable and tempting as you can. So that's some ways to do subscriptions. Next, we're going to look at user-generated content, which this is content created by your real customers that shows your product in real life contexts. This is something that can increase your conversion rate. And it's another thing that inspires trust, which we talked about before, and it gives people a bit of fear of missing out. It's often more effective when your customers sell your products than when you do. So the same as when we talked about press and publicity and we talked about customer reviews. When other people are talking about how much they like your brand and your products, that is more believable than when you do it. So here are some examples of user-generated content. This is Sugar House Baby. So the photos here, it says, this is on the product page after you've scrolled down a bit. It says, see this product in action. And then the photos down here are photos that they've curated from their own customers, probably on Instagram. So this can be super aspirational for potential customers. They see other people like styling your product or using it and loving it in their home. And then it's something that they want just a little bit more because they've seen that. So this one is an app that lets people upload photos, but the gallery itself is curated, meaning you're not just going to see any old photo on there. You're going to have the ability in your admin tool to go through and choose which ones that you want to show. Here is another example. This is Cashmerette. Seeing what other customers are making is both inspiring and reassuring. So again, since we're sewing clothing here, this shows how many people love the patterns, but the shopper can also see with this one pattern what it looks like in different fabrics, what different choices people make with if they're going to do long sleeves or short sleeves. It shows a range of body types. So if you have any kind of product that might be different for different people, it's really great to show that user generated content. And then I see we have a question in the chat about if you need to ask permission to show your customer photos. Yes. If you're using an app where people can upload photos, they will give permission as they're doing that. And then sometimes you'll ask people to use your hashtag. So if people tag with, I don't know if it's hashtag cashmerette or cashmerette makes, or they have some kind of contest going on, sometimes you'll have a hashtag and people know that when they're using that tag, um, you might be taking a look at their photos to see if you can use them. It's always important to like send them a quick DM and let them know you're going to be putting that on your website if you haven't gotten permission in the first place. But yeah, you don't want to surprise anybody by throwing their photo up on your site without permission. All right. So now we're going to talk about the add to cart area because this is the primary action you want shoppers to take, and it needs to be friction free. It needs to be as easy as possible. Here is how to support that. This is a yarn brand called Spun Right Round. So we call the add to cart button, we call this the CTA, the call to action. You'll see their add to cart button is near the top of the page. It's wide, it's a bold color. When you're looking at your own site, like you can just kind of like blur your eyes and look at your page. And is that add to cart button what stands out the most, or are there other things overpowering it? It's funny, sometimes I'll see a theme from Shopify's theme store with this light gray add to cart button. It's like, no, we don't want people to miss seeing that. We want to be able to see it. Another thing you'll see a lot is you will see, especially with Shop Pay, you'll see that buy now button. So you might have an add to cart button and a buy now button next to it. And usually they'll be different colors. And often the buy now button will be the darker, more obvious color that people click without really looking at it. So there is a trade-off there. The buy now button is going to take people immediately to checkout and they won't be shopping your site anymore. But the add to cart button will just add this product to the cart and they can still keep looking around and adding other things. So you just want to think about how your customers shop and how you want them to shop. If you only have one product, definitely do the buy now button. If you have products that are a higher price point and people usually don't buy multiple things, it's okay to have the buy now button. But if your business really relies on people adding like a bunch of greeting cards to their cart or something like that, you're going to want to emphasize that add to cart button and not the buy now button, which will kind of take people out of the shopping experience. Here's an example of all the stuff that you can add around your add to cart button to address people's hesitations. So you'll see we have this add to cart button. It's the blue color, it's the full width of that section, but right next to it, we'll see those little icons below. So it says what time you'll order, when you'll get your email proof, when it will be delivered. So if you're worried about how long it's going to take, you get reassured right there. Right underneath that, we have those little sort of accordions that can be opened and closed. One's the frequently asked questions, and then there's one about shipping and returns. And since this is customized invitations here, and this is something special to you, not really just an impulse buy, they also have their contact us info there. So you just know that everything is going to be taken care of and you don't have to worry. So there's a lot of things that you could put near your add to cart button when people are kind of hovering over it trying to decide. If they've like made it to the free shipping threshold or you offer free shipping, you could show that. If you have easy returns, especially for something like clothing, you can show that. If you have any kind of guarantees, that's something you could put by the add to cart button. It can be good to show scarcity signals. So for example, if you only have 2 left, that could be something that comes up automatically as you get low in stock. And that can be really helpful for customers. For me, I like to kind of ruminate on a purchase. So I might put something in my cart or just have it open in a tab on my browser and then look again a week later to see if I still want it. But if I see there's only 2 left, I'm probably going to go ahead and buy that because I don't want to miss out. And the opposite, if nobody warns me that it's almost gone and I come back a week later and it says out of stock, I'm going to be really mad. So I want that information. And then you might also have some little icons about the benefits, like if it's handmade or it supports some kind of charitable cause or something, you could show that by the add to cart. And then just one more thing to think about sort of the add out of cart area, especially when we're talking about when something is out of stock. You can replace that add to cart button with a sign up to get back in stock notifications. So if your products are the sort of thing where they come back in stock, that person who's thinking about buying and they're disappointed, they can enter their email address and then they'll know when you've got that available to buy again. And another cool thing about doing that from your perspective is you can see what products people are waiting to have come back in stock and go ahead and make that reorder if you see something is popular. Okay, so that was my, was it seven? Was it eight? I think seven. Those were the seven features that we've seen really help with sales on product pages. But I also want to take a minute to talk about product media. So you can pick a beautiful theme from the theme store, or you can work with my team on a strategic redesign. But if the content you have to sell your products isn't good, it won't sell. And I'm mainly talking about your product photos here, but also video. So this is just an example of lovely photography. Photography can make or break an e-commerce site. So budgeting for professional photography in the beginning can make a huge difference. And I would say if you're starting out and your budget is limited, photography is a good place to spend it because I have seen very technically boring websites look beautiful because of the photography. And then I've seen very strategic, smart websites just completely flop because the photography is terrible. So, just photography not only is compelling and interesting and it answers your customers' questions, but it also can be a trust signal, like we talked about earlier. If you are an organized and professional enough business to put together a photo like this, I feel like it's going to be money well spent and I can trust you. But if your photo is like blurry or unprofessional looking, that is like an immediate signal that maybe this is not where I should be shopping. Here's just some more photography. It can be good to show, like you probably want your product on a white background to show the details, but it's also wonderful to have these lifestyle photos that show your product in action and show the scale. Like, I don't know if you've ever bought something that you thought was huge and it turned out to be tiny or the opposite of that, but that can be quite jarring as a customer. And then it's nice to see the detail. It's good to allow the image zoom for your main product image so people can zoom in and look at some details up close. And just make sure when you do that that it is working well on a phone as well as a desktop computer. Basically, if you picture somebody coming into a brick and mortar store in person, they're going to pick this large cosmetic pouch up in their hands, they're going to turn it around, they're going to unzip it, they're going to look at all the details, and that's just hard to do if you're going to show one tiny photo without all the different angles and the zoom in sizes and things like that. So photography is super important to think about. Here is an example of incorporating video. So you'll see here that, again, we're back on a sewing pattern website. Under the description, they have a video that you can just click the play button on to understand how to do one of the more complicated parts of this project. So not only can that reassure you if you're thinking of buying it, but you know that they've got lots of resources to help you once you're going. There might also be other things about your product that could use a video. You could have a video showing how it was made. You can have a video showing how to use it. You can explain various things with video better than photography sometimes. So that just totally depends on your product, whether you'll want video or not. Okay, that was a lot. So I thought it would be helpful to pull together what you're going to want to prioritize if you are missing some of these things or think they might work for you. So I just put these in order of how you should plan these. Like, let's imagine you have none of what I talked about today and you want to start doing it. What should you do first? If you do just one thing, make it beautiful photography. That's going to make the biggest difference. Next, if your site doesn't have product reviews, get that set up as soon as possible. If you do have reviews, work on getting more. You can always have more, and the more the merrier. If it looks like lots of people are shopping from your site, that can be very tempting for that one person who's trying to decide if they should buy from you or not. Like we looked at those tiny twist earrings before. I think they have 2,000 reviews of those earrings, which allows them to show all kinds of details. Like if you want to click through and learn about the metal, there's all these little tags they can use and photographs from their customers and like just so much compelling information to help you want to buy it. So definitely product reviews. This is the one thing that when we're working with somebody on their website, they're so reluctant about product reviews for some reason. It just feels like a hassle. You're bothering your customers, all that kind of thing. But it's something that works really well and is super important. And if you're building a great brand that people love, they often want to help you by writing a review. I'm getting a question in the chat. Can I reach out to customers weeks after the fact for a review? Certainly. In fact, weeks is often better because maybe I haven't worn that dress or jewelry yet, or I haven't really used your soap very much. But once I've had it in my life for a while, I can write that review. Like for example, I recently bought a little hydroponic herb garden kit for my kitchen. If you'd asked me on day two to write a review for it, all I could write about was how easy it was to set up. But right now, I've got like a huge basil plant and parsley growing all over the place, and I can write a very excited review about how easy it's been and how delicious the cilantro has been on my food and everything. It's definitely okay to reach out to people and ask for reviews later. And I mean, just don't make it so long that they've completely forgotten who you are or what they ordered or what it was. But if it makes sense that that product is still in their lives and they're using and loving it, you can definitely ask them for a review. And you might want to, like, if you want to do a campaign and write to all of your recent customers to ask for reviews, you might want to offer them something nice, like a little coupon or some free add-on the next time they order or something like that. Just some incentive because they're going to spend some time for you. What can you do to give them some value out of that? Okay, next thing I would do if my photos are wonderful and I have my product reviews going, upsells can be great. So if people are already shopping, getting them to buy a bit more is low-hanging fruit. So upsells, bundles, and cross sells, those all raise the average order value. And it is so hard to get a person to show up at your site and purchase something. So just having them purchase a little bit more every time can be huge for your shop. Next, I would work on making sure my site is super trustworthy in the ways that we talked about before. So press and publicity are a way to gain trust, and some of these mentions can also grow your traffic. So for example, if you're featured in Martha Stewart's American Made, maybe a lot of people clicked over to your website from there to learn more about it. Or if you get listed in a bunch of gift guides for this holiday season, that's going to drive a bunch of traffic to your site. And you've got the two wonderful things. You've got more people finding out about you and visiting your site, but you also get to put that Martha Stewart logo on your website and be very reassuring and enticing to people. So if you can think back and think of any time that you got some kind of press or publicity and you're not sharing that on your site, definitely get that on there. If you haven't been featured anywhere, this can be a good thing to start working on this year, possibly with a PR firm or just going out and collaborating and sending those that information about your product to people who are going to care about it, who will mention it, or getting in some gift guides. The next thing I put on here is options. This depends on your product types, but we did talk about options and variants and customization and personalization. So depending on what you sell, this might be completely irrelevant to you, or you might have options on your site and they're confusing and they're hard to use. Well-planned options can make for a better customer experience, and it's a great thing to clean up if you're doing, or maybe something to add if you have a product that could be personalized, because that's something that can really help with gift giving as well, because it's like we're giving something special. Okay, so those are the ones that I would look at first, and I will sum this up for you again in that email. I have time for a quick Q&A, so keep an eye out for my email. In the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch with us, the best way is to subscribe to my weekly newsletter or just to send me an email and ask a question. And I'm always here to help. I love answering questions. I love helping people figure out next steps. So that QR code should go to our mailing list. And then that's my email address there if you want to get in touch with me. If you head to our website, you can fill out our contact form to learn more about our services and what they cost. And I would now love to answer questions. So please go ahead and pop any questions that you would like into the chat. And then if you want to, I believe you can raise your hand if you want to speak your question out loud. Um, so we talked about getting permission to use your customers' images from Instagram. Yes, get permission. And then the follow-up question was even if it doesn't include their face. So if I took a photo of my living room and there was no person in that, and then you didn't ask me and I saw my living room on your website, I think I'd probably be upset. Some people certainly would. So just the fact that the person took the photograph means that's their photograph and you need their permission. So it never hurts to ask for permission, and it's always a nice thing to do. And then you don't get sued in the future, which is another nice thing. Kelly asked, you're noticing your shop pay options overpowering the add to cart button. So do we recommend having that option available? So that's the one I talked about, how buy now or shop pay will take people immediately to checkout and they don't get to keep shopping on your site. So you can have that there as an option, but if you'd like people to add more products to their cart, I would say always let them do the add to cart and keep shopping. So we talked about reviews. How do you get the little box with complete the look products? Is that a custom design feature? So that's when we were looking at having additional products to upsell. There are probably some Shopify themes that have that as a feature, so you could look out for that or see if there's an app that does it. Usually for the projects we work on, we just build that into the code and that's a custom feature. And then another question is, would you suggest putting the storytelling box on every product page? That's some extra effort. So if you have all the same kind of products and you're telling the same story for all of them, go ahead and have that storytelling box and just have it be on all the pages. But really, when we are putting in that extra effort, it makes sense to put work into something that people are going to see. So a lot of the ones that I showed you where it showed a behind the scenes of how the product was made or how to use the product, that was for a product that is a bestseller and it's worth putting a little extra effort onto that page. Donna asked what the turnover time is for getting a website up and running. That question is like, I don't know, how long does it take to build a house? It can take you 10 years, or you can probably throw up a manufactured one in a month or so. It really depends on what you want and need. I will say with my team, we figured out how to build a website in a week over the pandemic, and now we do a project like that that takes 3 to 4 weeks, which is a little more gentle on everybody. If you need something completely custom, it might take a few months. Nicole's asking if we have an upsell app to recommend. I'm going to guess most Shopify themes are going to have an upsell feature, so you won't have to pay extra for an app, but that is worth looking into. Third-party app for creating a gallery. Okay, we have lots of app questions. I guess I'm wondering what kind of gallery, like your photo gallery on your product page, or maybe more of a portfolio or something like that. It really would depend on what you're looking for. Tiffany has some lovely compliments. Thank you, Tiffany. Dana's asking, is there a way to get rich results through Shopify without a third-party app? Um, so I noticed you mentioned that you used an app but didn't see significant increase in search traffic. So having those rich results is not going to make more people see your results in Google. They're just going to get more information when they see you in Google. And often those rich results, you could use an app, but sometimes it's something that you can just have built into your website one time instead of paying a fee. So it'll just depend on what kind of results you want, and what kind of products that you have. Daisy wants to know about an app to recommend for the live preview. I'm gonna save this chat just so I can get some app recommendations for people because I don't have those off the top of my head. I'm not one of the developers, and we often build that stuff in ourselves rather than using an app, but I can take a look and see if there's an app that we like. Okay, so I'll stay here for a minute in case any questions pop in, but other than that, I'm going to send an email to everybody who registered here with the replay of this so you can go back through each of those features again and look at the examples. And sometimes it can be helpful to visit the site and scroll through and see how it works. Obviously, we don't want to copy anybody directly, but it's nice to get some ideas of how those things work. And if there's something I didn't answer, when you get my email, you can hit reply on that and just ask me the question, and I will see if I can figure it out for you. And we are here to help you as you are getting your business through 2025. So never hesitate to reach out. And I'm so excited to see everybody here working on building their businesses instead of just panicking. So nice to see you, and I will be following up over email. Thank you. Bye.